Hi everyone, my name is Chua Pu Yong. I am from OUM Subrajaya. So currently I'm taking my bachelor's nursing degree in OUM. As for this semester, I'll be taking English for Oral Communication subject, which is the code of OUMH 1303. And today I'll be filming my video assignment on self-management during COVID-19. As the target audience of my speech for today will be my colleagues from our ICU, and the speech will be on the discussion room in the ICU. So before I start, I will talk about explain on what is really COVID-19 about. So COVID-19 is no longer a stranger to all of us. It is known as the coronavirus, which is first identified in 2019 December in Wuhan City, China. However, in March 2020, WHO, which is known as the World Health Organization, have declared that COVID-19 outbreak as a pandemic. So it became the worst communicable disease outbreak to have hit Malaysia since the 1918 Spanish flu. COVID-19 is largely spread via droplets in the air and is a respiratory illness. So these droplets typically are expelled when an infected person with COVID coughs or sneezes. As for that, during this period, COVID has actually affected every one of us. So many people, including myself. In addition to that, it has caused grave health consequences, upended family dynamics, and even job roles. Apparently, the disease has fundamentally changed the way we live, from work, educational aspects, to social lives, and even to recreational activities. So as the cases increasing drastically in Malaysia time to time, it can be agonizing to every one of us from all the lockdowns, restrictions, following standard precautions, closing interstate borders, and restricting the state and even the country as well. So the impact of this pandemic and its consequences are actually felt differently depending on our status as an individual and also as a member of the society. While some people try to adapt from working from home, attending online classes, or even homeschooling, and others have no choice but to expose themselves to the virus while keeping our society functioning, especially to those frontliners. So it became inevitable in a way that everyone needs to adapt with the new norms in life. Every one of us need to learn and adapt ourselves and even manage ourselves during this pandemic. So it can be overwhelming for all of us due to the constant lockdowns, outbreaks, restrictions from all the EMCOs, MCOs, and RMCOs. More I will talk about on self-management during COVID-19. As for my occupation, as you can see, I'm wearing my scrub. So I am a nurse from a private hospital in Penang. So actually work from home is not applicable for me as I'm a frontliner during this pandemic. So I could not avoid and stop myself from taking care from COVID patients. That's why I will share my information as a frontliner on how I manage myself during COVID-19, especially during my attachment at the government COVID-19 hospital. As last month, I did volunteer myself to nurse COVID-19 patients for approximately 4 months in the government hospital. So this pandemic during that period has actually created a lot of significant challenges for me. So however, now today I will share information on how I manage myself during that period. Okay, first thing first, to bear in mind for self-management during COVID is for us is to understand the prevention of COVID-19 and taking extra precautions for ourselves. So the first thing I will talk about will be practicing social distancing. So social distancing is actually a set of measures designed during this pandemic to help prevent the COVID transmission. As no matter we go, it is important for us to always practice social distancing. As we know that close person-to-person contact was actually the main source of COVID-19 transmission. So it is recommended for us to always maintain a distance of approximately 6 feet from the other in public places. So social distance will help to avoid direct contact with respiratory droplets that was produced by coughing or even sneezing. So for example, as for me in my workplace, is actually when greeting with my colleagues, I will maintain a social distancing, which is maintaining a 6 feet rule, which is 1 meter away while interacting with my colleagues when possible. I will also avoid crowded indoor spaces and ventilation, especially in the pantry. In hospital pantry, it can be is an indoor space that with ventilation, but then it can be crowded at times, especially when you have more colleagues that will share your meals with you. So it's very important when we're taking our meals with our colleagues, we're practicing social distancing, because when they are eating, they are not wearing the mask, so as this will increase the risk of COVID-19 transmission. So second will be practicing hand hygiene. So washing our hands is a very important habit as it prevents the spread of COVID-19. So it is actually our own responsibility to practice good hygiene. As COVID, we know that it's mainly spread through between you direct with a person or indirectly, especially through contaminated objects that are contaminated by the virus or even close contact with an infected person. So washing our hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds is critically, especially before we eat, before we touch our face, or before preparing our food. And as for after we use the restroom, leaving a public place, blowing our nose after we cough, handing our mask, or touching someone that is sick. So it's very important after those things we wash our hands, or you don't feel your hand is clean, just wash your hands for 20 seconds with soap and water. As if there's no soap and water, always to have a hand sanitizer by your side standby. By buying a sanitizer, you also need to choose the one that contains 70% of alcohol, as it was believed that 70% alcohol can help to kill the coronavirus. And other than that, we also need to avoid touching our eyes, our nose, or our mouth with unwashed hands. As if our hands is contaminated with the virus, if we touch the eyes or the nose, it will increase the risk of us got infected with COVID-19. Soap molecules can help to disrupt the fatty layer or coat surrounding of the virus. So once the viral coat was broken down by the soap and water, the virus was no longer able to function. In addition to washing our hands, disinfecting frequently on high-touch areas daily, especially high-touch surfaces daily that we always touch. So for example, like our workplace table, the doorknobs, especially the light switches, countertops, handles, the desk, our phones, the portable phones, keyboards, toilets, and even sinks. Okay, so the next will be self-test kits and also monitoring for symptoms. So actually self-test kits could let me aware of my status, and this can be performed if I'm not feeling well or if I'm exposed with someone that is contacted with COVID-19, whether we are infected with the COVID or did not. So actually the most common symptoms, as we know, for COVID was to monitor for any fever, cough, sore throat, and any difficulty in breathing, which is the most common symptoms of COVID-19. And for me, it's very important for us to always stand by a COVID-19 antigen saliva test kit at home, so we could monitor if there's any doubt about our symptoms or having sore throat or discomfort about ourselves. So actually we need to watch out for symptoms for COVID-19. COVID-19, usually the symptoms are more likely respiratory tract illness, viruses, sickness, just like the influenza. But those symptoms of COVID-19 can be significant when there's a new loss of taste or smell, including fever or chills, having cough, shortness of breath, feeling fatigue, muscle and body aches, nausea, vomiting, and even diarrhea. So actually these are all the symptoms that COVID-19 you feel when you're having COVID-19. They have been exposed to COVID-19 patients. So by taking care of myself, I think it's very important to boost my own immune system. So actually immune system protects us from dangerous elements like viruses and even bacteria that causes illness. So our immune system is very crucial, not just towards COVID-19 and other diseases as well. So the things I did to boost up my immune system against COVID-19 during that period was actually maintain a healthy diet, not just eating junk food and all those stuff. That depends on nutrient-dense whole food to function well, by eating plenty of green vegetables, lean protein, healthy fats, fruits, and especially taking vitamin C is believed to enhance our immune system, and also keeping ourselves hydrated could help to boost out our immune system. And other than taking a very healthy diet, it's important to also get plenty of sleep that helps me to stay healthy. Sixth one will be staying positive and self-care of my mental health is also crucial for self-management during COVID-19. As during this pandemic, it's very important when things get really stressful, especially when it comes to work. Frontliner need to face more challenges, especially there's inadequate staffing in work and then increased workload, especially we need to always have the thought of being positive and having good resilience. As for me, by staying positive and caring about my own self, was actually I will always reach out to my family and friends via video call or even phone calls when I feel really overwhelmed about the whole situation or I feel lonely. So actually talking to them will help me feel better and also think positively. So I will also do things that I really enjoy the most. For example, I will watch my favorite TV shows on Netflix, listening to my favorite music, or playing mobile games through phone, as we could not really go for recreational activities at that moment as the cases was high and we could not go. Okay, the last I'll be just sharing a bit about the sequence of donning the PPE, which is wearing the PPE. So the step one will be we need to remove all the accessories, especially our rings, our mask, so at home to wash. So the third step will be wearing boots. The fourth step will be perform hand hygiene, which is the most crucial part, which is wearing the N95 mask. So wearing N95 mask for a frontliner, it's important for us to always have a seal or fit check. If there's any leakage, make sure that the mask is sealed properly. If there's any leakage, this will also pose the risk for us to get infected. And the sixth one will be wearing a head cover. The seventh will be performing hand hygiene, and the eighth will be wearing the isolation gown, which is the one that the long plastic gown that really cause us to sweat for hours inside the COVID ward or even the ICU. And the ninth one will be wearing gloves. So gloves usually we wear 2 pair of gloves for double protection. And the last one will be face shield. So after completing wearing the PPE, it's very important for us to have a second check of everything, whether it's complete or not, to make sure that we are safe when we're taking care of the patients. So the next one will be the sequence of doffing PPE, which is removing PPE. As the step one will be removing both of our gloves, so because it's the most dirtiest thing. Step two will perform hand hygiene. So as this part, every step we remove the PPE, we need to perform hand hygiene once. The third will be removing the face shield, perform hand hygiene. Again, remove our isolation gown, perform hand hygiene. After that, remove our head cover, perform hand rub or hand hygiene. So after that, remove our book cover. After book cover, we will perform hand rub. So after the book cover, it will be our last will be the mask, which is the most dirtiest part of all. So after remove the mask, we perform hand hygiene and we will take a new mask and wear it, and we will leave the COVID room. And that is how we used to remove all our PPE. So after removing all PPE, I usually would take a shower to make sure that we are clean and we are not contaminated. So that is all I'll be sharing today about the information on how I manage myself during COVID-19, especially when my attachment at the COVID-19 hospital. So actually I feel that it's not just in the COVID-19 hospital we need to practice all those things. So whenever I go also, I will still need to practice all those measures to prevent me from getting transmitted with COVID-19. So actually everyone of us still need to take part to be a hero and break the chain of COVID-19 transmission. So actually the takeaway point for my speech today is first, to practice social distancing. Second, practice hand washing. And third, wearing masks to public areas. The fourth one will be self-monitoring for symptoms and standby self-test kit, especially the saliva test kit for COVID-19 at home to check if we are feeling unwell. So I also need to boost up my immune system, especially taking healthy diets, adequate fluids and vitamin C, and also having ways to distress myself, having good support as well, and also having good resilience as a nurse during this pandemic. And lastly, the most important thing as a frontliner was a proper and correct way to wear and remove our PPE. I would like to thank everyone for listening to my speech on self-management during COVID-19, as it's very important for us to continue to follow SOPs, taking precautions, and stay safe. So take care everyone, and thank you for listening to my speech.